Hi everyone, this is Mr. Zirkle and this video is about trophic levels. Ecologists assign organisms in an ecosystem to something called a trophic level or a feeding level based on where the organism gets its nutrients. There are two types of trophic levels. There are producers and there are consumers, and we'll talk about both of them here in a little bit. The ultimate source of nutrients for most ecosystems is the sun. Producers, also called autotrophs, make their nutrients they need to survive from compounds and energy that are obtained from their environments. For example, in the process known as photosynthesis, plants capture solar energy that falls onto their leaves. They use it, along with carbon dioxide and water, to form glucose, and that stores the chemical energy that plants need to survive and to grow. It's important to note that oxygen is released during photosynthesis, and that's a good thing because that oxygen then is used for animals in order to survive. The second type of trophic level that we want to talk about is the consumer. Consumers are also known as heterotrophs. They cannot produce their own food from nutrients, and they have to feed off of other organisms. We have several different types of consumers, and so we'll go through each one of them separately. First, we have primary consumers like the squirrel. They feed on producers, mostly green plants. They're also called or known as herbivores. We also have secondary consumers such as this fox, and they're organisms that feed on primary consumers. For example, this fox might eat that squirrel. Tertiary consumers, like this coyote, are organisms that feed on secondary consumers. Now, it's important to note that an organism's trophic level can change depending on what it eats. Humans, for example, can eat things like rabbits and squirrels, and that makes them secondary consumers. However, humans can also eat vegetables, so plants, and that makes them primary consumers in that situation. So these organisms aren't necessarily locked in to certain trophic levels. They can change. There are two other types of consumers that we want to talk about. There are decomposers, and decomposers break down the remains of plants and animals and release nutrients back into the soil, air, and water. As it's an important distinction to make, I think, that decomposers don't necessarily eat organisms, they break them down externally. So you should think mushrooms and bacteria. Detritivores, on the other hand, feed on the waste and dead bodies of other organisms. They, in fact, do eat other organisms. Examples would be vultures and earthworms. An important piece of information that I want you to gather from this section is that as one organism eats another in an ecosystem, energy and matter are cycled through the various trophic levels. All right, well, that's a summary of trophic levels. Be sure you know the name of each level and what they feed on. And thanks for watching.